Goody, you mentioned that the performance didn't matter too much before the game, but are you happy with the bonus point win for England?
Yeah, delighted. We're going to go through to the quarterfinals. I thought we played a really good game, and the England fans were. It was amazing to see the how much they got behind the team. Listen, it was before the game. It's about winning it, but then as the game unfolds and you're watching it, we look nervous. The intensity wasn't there from the week before. We kicked the balls so many times in attack. We just didn't seem to know what to do with it. But the boys found a way off Marla's head, through some adversity of just looking lost at times as a team in attack. They found it within them. And they made a couple of changes. Marcus Smith comes on at fullback. I thought we were pretty dour in that first 50, 60 minutes. Started like a house on fire, but basically off errors from Japan. And then Japan just took the game to England with their offloading. But we found a way. It's not a sparkling performance. And if you kick it 50 times, eventually one will come off, and it did. And a brilliant crossfield kick by George Ford off his wrong peg, by the way. But the result was the main thing that mattered. But then when you see the performance, you do get a bit antsy and start thinking about later in the competition, we've got to show way more to beat the likes of Ireland or South Africa, France, New Zealand, Scotland maybe if they pull a rabbit out of the hat as well. Fiji in a quarter-final, you're going to have to score tries. You can't just rely on kicks here and there. And we got 4 tries in the end. It was a relief when that Courtney Lawes try was given because we were under the pump at times. I think it was a 1-point ball game at that point, and Japan were carving us open at times with offloading and various different things. But it was underwhelming. I can't get away from it. Very underwhelming. Every time we get to an edge, we're kicking it. Anytime we get near their 22, we're kicking it. And it's so ingrained in the players. And it took the changes when Marcus Smith came on at fullback, and we put some more width on the game and actually held onto the ball to try and fatigue a defence, move them around, find some space. But it took to the 65th minute or whatever, and maybe that was the game plan. Ball the life out of everyone and then the space will come. But it was underwhelming, but job done in that sense. 4 tries. I don't know, I can't really get too pumped about it, but I'm pumped that look like we're going to the quarterfinals. But then I look at the next 2 games. Chile shouldn't be a problem, but Samoa are half decent, boys. And, we're going to have to ramp it back up to even beat Samoa, I think, knowing what challenges they bring and seeing what they did at the weekend. And they're offloading the game and how they attack. But it's job done. Played 2-1-2. Very different games, but not very different in terms of England's approach. And that's the way it's going to be. I keep kidding myself that we're going to see more. And, the game plan's going to change. But it's not. It's the way Steve's always coached. It's effective to a point until you get stopped playing that way. And then at the minute, it looks like we haven't got another way to go in terms of finding space, changing our attacking game. I love Elliot Daly, mate of mine, and it's obviously ingrained in them to put the ball behind. It's just kicking it every time he gets into the width, where we don't seem to back ourselves ball in hand until the last sort of 10, 15 minutes of that game. And that's the frustrating thing for England fans and stuff. But bottom line is, played 2-1-2, we're in control of the group. We beat Chile next week comfortably. And that's not being arrogant, even though we've been very average. And there's a lot of comments on social media around how boring and dull England have been. But win's a win, right?
42 kicks in play after 43 last week.
We like to kick the ball.
It's a lot. And I had a great view of the game as well. Like, I'm watching it from like the commentary position, good, and you get a great bird's eye view, don't you, of like the positional play. And
it is easier from up there.
So hard. Yeah, it is. Yeah, like I said, if you're pitch side or whatever, it's you can't get a gauge on it. But the way that England play, specifically from that bird's eye view, really interesting, because as boring as it is, it looks so hard to play against because the kicks are so good, and we know that England have got world-class kickers.
But they actually weren't this weekend, were they? The kicks were poor this weekend, I thought.
They were poor, but even the ones that were poor, that came down as 50-50s, the ones that went high, I mean, not the ones that were going long and that were going over into the dead ball or whatever, the ones that were going high that create that kind of 50-50 carnage. Look, I played in that at Sarries. Like, I know what it's like, and they're conditioned to do that. Like, as in Johnny May's one of the quickest wingers in the game, and he didn't touch the ball with the ball in hand. I think he touched it twice maybe on the wing, but it looks so hard to play against. And like we mentioned, the amount of kicks, like Fiji kicked loads. I think they were like maybe 24, 25 in the game. Australia kicked a little bit more than that. Like England were like mid-40s, like 44, 45 kicks. It's a lot. It's boring. The crowd were booing when they did it. Like Mitchell, when he got the ball, like he kicked the ball through and you could hear the boos coming out.
But our fans, I'm so grateful, and it's great to see so many fans get behind us and be really positive about England.
Well, I saw Marrow's comments, like they're not there to entertain, and that it's a hard balance, isn't it? You don't want to play champagne rugby. One, England aren't at that point yet because they haven't got the confidence to do it. The ball was very slippy as well. Like both teams were knocking it on, and I saw some of the players after. They were drenched in sweat. I was stood pitch side. It was absolutely
Were you sweating?
Boiling. Sweating profusely. Yeah, I'll be honest. I had some brown trousers on, and I was worried that they were going to be black by the end of the night. So
did you look like you shit yourself?
I was holding in. That was nothing to do with the sweat, by the way. That was to do with 2 long days. But it was absolutely boiling, so you could see why they wouldn't play.
Yeah.
So they've got this foundation now and framework and identity, which we keep talking about with other teams, is to kick the balls. Like, that's what it is. But I said after the game, when I was with Ashley, I was like, I felt a bit underwhelmed, like watching England. And he's like, what do you mean? Like, as in, like, he was buzzing. I was like, really? I said, but how would you be playing in that team? He said, it doesn't matter. They're there to win. So now they are 9 points.
He'd hate it.
From
I'll tell you
10.
now, Ashley would hate it and moan like hell if he's playing a team like that. Because
that's what I thought.
He said he retired because that's how Eddie Jones played the game. He goes, it was shite.
Exactly. That's what I mean. So that's why I asked him. I called him out on that. He said that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
And he says when you look at it, it's 9 points from your first 2 games. And I think comfortable win over Samoa. Sorry, Samoa. Cricket score against Chile, potentially. Maybe start scoring. Well, I say cricket score. They're still struggling to score some tries. Imagine if that was the only try that won off Marla's head into Courtney Lawrence's hand. Can you imagine? The irony in that. But I was in the stadium. The fans were underwhelmed. Like, that's what it felt like. And Ashley's like, no, look at them. We were looking at all the families who were buzzing, right? And I think how I see England, I think England should be better. So maybe that's a part of it. But they're not playing at the minute like they want to win the World Cup. Fiji are playing like they are going all out to win a World Cup. That is how they're playing. Like, they're putting absolutely everything on the line. Do England need to do that? Well, probably not, because, again, it's Japan. Japan have never beat England. They think the kicking game will be enough for them. Like Bortha said in his press conference, that the last quarter will be where they can get away, which they did. And they moved away from Japan and they scored a few tries and got a bonus point when it's all said and done. But being there just felt a bit underwhelming. And maybe that was because the crowd were booing and because it wasn't that entertaining.
Has George Ford done enough to keep a spot at 10? Because you've got Owen Farrell coming back for Chile. What happens with selection there?
Well, I think he'll go this weekend. I think he'll go Faz back at 10, skipper, because he's got to play, right, in that squad. He's our named captain, and Steve's backed him to the cowsheds and back. I think Marcus Smith will start at fullback.
He looked good at 15.
Yeah, he did, but back end of the game, he's not a starting 15 in a quarter final of a World Cup, is he? Let's be honest. And I actually called us 50 odd minutes in. I'm like, Marcus Smith, anyone? And I meant at 10 because England were just kicking the balls the whole time. But George Ford, how he's got man of the match, I'm just going to say it. I sung his praises ridiculously last week against Argentina because he was out of this world good in terms of managing the game, how the game was played against 14 men, drop goals, goal kicking, game management, outstanding, off the charts good. This week, he gets man of the match again, and I'm thinking, how? How's he got man of the match? Because we just kicked everything, and we kicked so much possession away, got lost in attack, all that stuff, got a kick charge down. Benno was England's best player for me, and with his celebrating, not straighten the line out. And he loves it, doesn't he? And he's getting a bit of heat about that. But he's an energetic, passionate person.
I love it.
It's a bit. You'll see it when you see it against the Kiwis. See if you love it then, pal.
Probably not.
I can guarantee you'll change your mind. And it's comical at times. Part of me thinks he's looking for the camera to do it as well now. And maybe I'm just a cynic. I don't know. But I thought he was our best player. Courtney Laws was big as well. Thought Ludlam did well when he was on. And yeah, but with Farrell coming back, Ford, I think, and I don't agree with it, I think for the Samoa game, he's going to pick a team that he's going to pick in the quarterfinal, all things being equal, with injuries and bans. And I think he'll go Ford at 10, Farrell at 12, Tuilangi at 13. I don't agree with it. I think you've got to play Farrell at 10 or nowhere, and that's a big decision for him. But the get out is to bin off Marchant, who I think's played very well in 2 games, although he hardly touched the ball last night. I think he had his third touch of the game. I think his third touch of the game was his try towards the end. But that's not his fault. That's the game plan and how they're, manufacturing things. Same with Manu. Manu hardly touched the ball. I think he had a few carries and made 12 metres. But I think the easy thing for Borthwick is the wrong thing. The easy thing is to slot Farrell in at 12 against Samoa, Ford at 10, and Tuilangi at 13, and move Marchant aside. But I don't know. I don't think that's right. And I don't think George Ford will look back at his performance last night and think he had a really tip-top game. But you don't always play to your best, and England are 2 from 2. I think George Ford will get a rest this weekend or might sit on the bench, depending if he rests Stewart completely. And there we are. What would you do, Jim?
Yeah, I think Stewart's got a dead leg as well, so I think we'll see Smith at 15. The rumours were there, weren't they, about him potentially starting against Argentina. Never saw it until, again, the bird's eye view yesterday. Looked energetic, offers something completely different. Is he better than Stewart in that position?
You ain't
Absolutely
starting
not.
Marcus Smith ahead of Stewart.
No, you're not.
In a big game.
No, you're not. No. But it's interesting that he started to dabble with that now that Ford's come back. But I agree with you, Ford. I didn't actually think Ford played that well. I'll be honest, that was my perspective of it. It was sensational the week before. I think Farrell should start at 10. But again, the rumours, Ashley thinks the same. Some of the lads who were there were kind of talking about potentially that's what it was going to look like. Goody, you've got a feeling for it as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds. Benno mentioned that he was hands down man of the match for me. 111 metres made, comfortably higher than anyone else on that pitch. I think Matsushima was 90 or something. So, he's. Yeah.
What do you mean Mike Ford gave man of the match out to his son?
What do you mean, Mike Ford? How's that?
Well, apparently it was Mike Ford who gave man of the match to George Ford.
No, it was.
Was he on TV?
No, I'm joking. The TV don't do it. That's why I said who's given man of the match there, because it's not the commentators in the World Cup.
Is it someone pitch side who can't see anything?
Yeah, they've probably picked a fan out or something, and by chance they picked Mike Ford out of the crowd.
He goes, give it my son, greatest player ever.
Pod.
Rugby Pod.